The question I always ask myself is how can I be more efficient with what I'm doing and do it in a way that's sort of effortless. Like, I don't want to have to think about the process or think about what I'm having to do all the time. And I want it to be pared down to like, what are the essential pieces that I need to be creating and distributing, and like what is essential for this content marketing program to be successful, and then let's do those things and then add on after we go. But what most companies end up doing is there's no essentials. Everything's essential. Everything needs to get done. And so we're just going to try to do everything poorly. I mean, they don't say that, but like they end up doing everything poorly, rather than really focusing on being like, wow, that company or that person is awesome at that. The content treadmill, there's a lot of factors that play into why, but just in general, it's this idea of like, you never feel like you're caught up. You just always feel like it's, as soon as you get something finished, there's another carrot dangled in front of you, and there's another carrot dangled in front of you, there's another, and you're just constantly running. There's no stop. And so, well, I think there's always some level as you're working on anything to progress, that you're on a path, but it's like, how do we allow ourselves to take one step in front of the other, instead of versus just feeling like we're constantly running in a circle, whether it's a hamster wheel or a treadmill, whatever that is, like actually make me feel like I'm getting somewhere. Distribution first is thinking ahead about not only the content, but what are the messages that you want out there? What are the core ideas that you want to get out there? At the end of this year, if you could be known for one thing, right? Brand recall. In such a noisy world we live in, like brand recall is becoming more and more important. When you think of X company, you think of Y thing. When you think of X personal brand, you think of Y thing, whoever it is. And so understanding what those core messages are and what's that main thing you want to be able to get out. All right, now I've got this sort of guardrail at the top that I can now, all right, there's level one. Now level two, what channels are we going to distribute on? And now I can say, all right, I need these messages to go out on these channels. All right, now what formats am I going to create? All right, I need these channels, these messages to go out on these channels, and I'm going to do it in these formats. This is my content floor now. This is what I'm going to create all the time. And now you're going to get that engine going and be able to say, you're going to be able to trust that the messages you want are getting out on the channels you want to get them out on, and you can do it in a way that's not burning out. And then once you get that engine in place, now you can adjust and ebb and flow. Is that message the right message? Is that channel the right channel? Is that format the right format? But you'll only know that by building up that engine. Typically, what happens is these companies have these events, they go live with them, and then after they have the event, they sort of like put all the recordings up and say, hey, everybody, here's the recordings, enjoy, or, gate them or however. But basically that's it. And what we did, because at that point it was just the three of us and we didn't really have we didn't have a podcast, we didn't have any sort of engine going from that standpoint. We're doing some blogging here and there, but it was like, how do we get all these thoughts out? And so what we ended up doing was I put in a framework that every single session got repurposed and distributed the same way over a 12-week period. And so for 3 months after the event, we were sharing content every single week in email, on LinkedIn, on YouTube multiple times, cutting up all that stuff. We saw growth across every channel over that 6-month period. We grew LinkedIn over 700% by sharing like majority repurposed content with some stuff mixed in between. And it was just because that growth came from consistency. But also what that allowed me to do was I didn't come in every week and have to figure out what we were doing. I knew every single week what was going out. It was a different episode. It was a different thing. But every week that engine became consistent. And what that allowed me to do as a solo content person was free up all my mind bandwidth I knew the execution was going to happen. And so then I could free up creativity, strategic thinking, all that stuff. And then I spent those next 2 months building up the podcast, which then after we launched the podcast, we did the same thing. We took that exact same playbook we did with that, plopped it on the podcast, and just reran that engine again. I don't think companies in particular realize when you're sharing your content amongst the best of the best everywhere. So your YouTube content is going toe to toe with Mr. Beast, whether you like it or not. He is also on that platform and creating amazing content. Your LinkedIn post could get sandwiched between two of the best individual thought leaders in your category, and yours is going to stand out one way or the other. And so it's like, it's not just your content in a vacuum, and it's not just your competition. I say this a lot, like, competition is not just your brand versus the other brand that sells the same thing you do. Your competition is for attention.